Well, we've been talking about it, and we're finally going to get to it. The 40-man roster construction.
I am extremely excited. I'm excited when I have an Excel spreadsheet open. I've got pen and paper, and of course, I've got a White Russian left of me. So let's get started right now.
You are Locked On Rays, your daily Tampa Bay Rays podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, my name is Kevin Weiss.
I'm Ulises Sambrano.
And we're the host of the Locked On Rays podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thank you for making us your very first listen every day. Be sure to check out and subscribe to our YouTube channel at Locked On Rays. You can also find us on the social medias, X and Instagram, and email us anytime with those mailbag questions, comments, concerns, and hot takes. LockedOnRays@gmail.com. Well, we will have a pair of roster crunch episodes, 40-man roster crunch episodes. Today's episode will mainly focus on the guys that are on the 60-day IL and free agents to be, while Monday's episode will focus on pitchers and position players on the 40-man currently who we think will get dropped off, and the Rule 5 eligible players that will need to be added, or we think need to be added to the 40-man. So with that, let's go ahead and get rolling. Ulises, correct me if I'm wrong, but there are 7 players on the 60-day IL currently on the 40-man, and a little administrative issue here. The 40-man presently, as of today, has 46 players on the roster, correct?
All of that is correct. We're not going to go down the 46 names on the 40-man roster. You can easily go to racebaseball.com and then choose to see the 40-man roster. I think that will help everybody that's watching on YouTube. Just grab another tab open and then follow along. It'll be really easy for you to do that, unless you're not a visual person, and then wow, kudos to you, because that's pretty awesome.
And I'll just say this, we don't really need to go out there and say, hey, Josh Lowe is going to be on the 40-man roster next year.
I think
Diaz is going to be on the 40-man roster next year. These are more of those fringe quality players.
Yeah, let's use our Rays common sense here and not a lot of hot takes, Okay, so before we get started, we have to paint a picture. So first, you said there were 46 men on the 40-man roster, which is correct, and you also said that there were 7 men on the 60-day IL. Those 7 names are Shane Baz, Garrett Clevenger, Calvin Fauché, Shane McClanahan, Drew Rasmussen, Jeffrey Springs, Greg Jones. However, we're also going to be talking about free agents. And from the 40-man roster, there are 3 pending free agents: Chris Davinsky, Jake Diekman, and Robert Stevenson. Bullpen. Kevin, my first question to you is, where would you like to start? Free agent talk or 60-day IL guys?
Let's start with the 60-day IL.
Okay. From those names on the 60-day IL, what is the first thing that screams at you?
The first thing that screams at me is Shane Baz is a no-brainer. Shane McClanahan is a no-brainer. Drew Rasmussen is a no-brainer. And Jeffrey Springs is a no-brainer. I mean, it's going to be a while before some of those guys pitch again in a Rays uniform, but you have to find a way to get them back on the 40-man roster.
Okay. So what I'm hearing from you is that there would be 3 names left, which would be Garrett Clevenger, Calvin Fauché, and Greg Jones. Of those 3 guys, if you had to pick one name to stay, who would it be and why?
Well, let me throw it back at you. Is your determination in all this that there's only one additional name on the 60-day IL that would be added besides the obvious ones?
Yeah, I don't
Or do
think.
you have more than one?
I think from those 7 names, Kev, 1, 2, 3, 4 of those are must-haves, which are the ones that you said, the 2 Shanes, Drew and Jeffrey. And I think there's one more name there that should be given a chance. There are 2 there that I think are if you've
Okay,
been on.
how about we
Yeah,
start with this? Are we okay with not keeping around Calvin Fauché?
I'm 100% okay with not keeping Calvin Fauché.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know that he was acquired in the Nelson Cruz deal, and we're trying to make that a thing. We're trying to continue to make him successful, and I know he has an intriguing profile, but clearly something is not working, and we know how the Rays like to shuffle and Rolodex through relievers, so I think he would be a clear candidate. Now, let me move along here. Can you enlighten the audience on Garrett Clevenger's injury?
Gosh, man, can
Okay,
I
I have it
explain?
in front of me. Sorry, I looked
Okay.
it up. Garrett Clevenger on May 12th, left-handed pitcher, was transferred from the 15-day injured list to the 60-day injured list.
Wait. Knee? Was it the knee?
Right knee sprain.
Okay,
So
good.
nothing with the arm, shoulder, hand, wrist, elbow. So that's a good sign.
Yeah. I mean, I like that. I like the fact that Jeffrey Springs, he had a similar injury in 2021, and he came back and just showed up in 2022 and was like, oh, this is a new shiny object. So, yeah, I'm okay with. I've said this before. Garrett Clevenger just screams at me 2010 Jake McGee vibes. Like, it's just, I want him to be that guy. I think he can be that guy if he just stays on the field healthy. I think that's a possibility. I think he's got the stuff. I would very much like to keep Garrett Clevenger in this 40-man roster.
Okay, I'm with you. I'm fine with keeping Garrett Clevenger on the 40-man roster, and he and many others out there would kill to have a career like Jake McGee had. I think just recently retired about a year or so ago. I mean, I'd have to look at his BREF page, but played close to a dozen years or more in the big leagues. And I know, like the case with many guys, you might have been drafted and developed as a starter, doesn't work out for whatever reason, you can still carve out a really nice role for yourself as a reliever. And you don't have to be Craig Kimbrell or Aroldis Chapman or Mariano Rivera to have long-term longevity success.
Quick name that war trivia / question. What do you think is Jake McGee's war?
Jake McGee's career war is probably.
Wait. When I put my 3 fingers up, we both said at the same time. Okay. 16.
14.
Boom.
Which, again, reliever war is kind of messy and not really does it justice sometimes. What's more maybe important and imperative is his bank account and what he earned over that career, because I would have to guess he probably made close to $50 million thereabouts.
We gave him a little bit more love. He's actually 7 WAR according to BREF, but you are right on the money. $49 million for Jake McGee. So yeah, pretty great career.
Okay. So Garrett Clevenger, I'm fine with keeping him into the shuffle. I would also like to argue or make a case for Greg Jones. I know we've been bearish on Greg Jones recently, but he was pretty dynamic when he got the call up to AAA. I don't know why he was unsuccessful or why he had a slow start in AA. Could have been personal issues, could have been not 100% healthy. Yeah. Maybe he thought he was above AA. Regardless, once he got the promotion to AAA, he produced and put up really good numbers. I know strikeouts is always going to be an issue, but the tools are there, the athleticism is there, and it's translated at the second highest level of professional baseball. And I know that he's listed as a shortstop middle infielder, but I know that the Rays have toyed with him in the outfield, I think center field predominantly. And I'm just thinking down the line of,
there is a lot of uncertainty in the world today, and it's important to be prepared. And that's why the Jace case is a must have. The Jace case is a personalized emergency medication kit that contains 5 essential antibiotics that treat the most common and deadly bacterial infections. You can also customize your Jace case with dozens of add-on medications. You can choose the medications that best fit you and your family's unique needs. And now you can even buy gift cards for your family or loved ones with the holidays coming up so that they can get a Jace case of their own. So today, go to jacemedical.com and enter code LOCKEDON, LOCKEDON, at checkout for $20 for a discount on your order. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDON, LOCKEDON, at Jace, that's JASE medical.com.
Manny Margot may not be on this roster long term. And I feel like the Rays have drafted and spent so much time trying to build up Greg Jones that they give him one last shot. Like, this is the year to take hold and make your breaks. Create your breaks. And if you screw it up, if you can't do anything with it, then we'll put you out to pasture. But I mean, if Vidal Brujan can't be successful, if other guys that get the call up can't be successful, give Greg Jones a shot. If Tristan Gray can get a shot, Greg Jones maybe deserves a shot.
I don't disagree with that last bit that you said. And yes, he did kind of go off in AAA in the 51 games he played. The problem is that who is Greg Jones? Because you have a Greg Jones that for parts of 3 seasons, he was a 60 WRC plus, 88 WRC plus, 65 WRC plus, and that's AA. Now, in AAA, he was a 101 WRC plus, so he's basically at average, which might not be what you want from somebody in AAA, but if he is giving you the glove in center field and you can also plug him in at short and second and third, then that's a little bit more valuable. But I feel like if you're just being a 101 WRC plus guy in AAA, man, you're going to get a dent when you go to MLB. And then what is that dent?
Yeah.
15, 85 WRC plus. If it's more than that, then you basically now have Taylor Walls and Greg Jones doing the same thing as Taylor Walls did with Vidal Brujan.
That's fair. I just think that maybe he turned a corner and maybe there's something in how he approaches the game now. Maybe it took him a couple years to really figure things out. Because let's remember that, yes, he did get drafted out of college, but it was UNC Wilmington. It wasn't University of North Carolina. It wasn't an ACC school or an SEC school or a Pac-12 school, whatever it may be. So I think there's some meat on the bone that the Rays still want to chew off with him.
And to your point, he was a professional in 2019. Guess what happened the year after, people? COVID year.
Yeah, that delayed him and many others by a factor. And I mentioned Manny Margot. So like this is the big question. And you know, I don't know how much we probably won't get into. Well, I guess I'm sort of going a little bit ahead of ourselves with the second episode, but just think about the guys that are currently on the outfield 40-man. Okay. How many of those guys are going to be on the roster next year? I see at least 3 or probably 3 names that could be coming off the board, making way for Greg Jones.
Okay,
I mean, if you want me to give you the names, I'll go ahead and give you the names.
Okay. I mean, I think with Greg Jones,
and I'll just tell you, it's Randy Arozarena is not going anywhere. Josh Lowe isn't going anywhere. Jose Siri isn't going anywhere. But there's a couple other guys that could be going somewhere.
Okay, let me ask you this question. if you're putting Greg Jones in this 40-man, Kevin, what are you doing with Vidal Brujan? Are you really staying with Vidal Brujan in the 40-man, or are you switching Greg Jones for Vidal Brujan then?
That's exactly what I would be doing, is switching Greg Jones for Vidal Brujan.
Okay.
However, that happens.
Okay.
And I don't know if it's necessarily fair, but Vidal Brujan has shown me really nothing.
Yeah.
That
unfortunately
makes him worthy of sticking around. And at the end of the day, if we're being honest, Vidal Brujan and Greg Jones might be like the same player. They might be quad A players. You're really in a pinch, you call them up for a couple games, and that's it.
Yeah.
So I kind of see them as interchangeable. And if Vidal's not having success at the big leagues, give Greg Jones a shot.
Now, do you have in front of you his injury?
I can look it up right now. And please, listeners, and just, this is kind of a fun episode or 2-episode arc where we're working through all this together. We're talking through it. We're Eric Neander and Peter Bendix and
we're
Kevin
in a room.
Cash back and forth.
Yeah.
Right hamstring strain.
Right hamstring strain. Yeah. So okay, I'm okay. I'm okay with betting on that. If it wasn't an elbow, if it wasn't a shoulder, you know what I'm saying? Okay, so
something
wrist
that would require surgery.
Right. So hamstring. Okay. If you want to play that game, let's play that game and keep Greg Jones. I had already shuttled him off the roster. So, okay. So in this case, now we're left with Shane Boss, Garrett Clevenger, Shane McClanahan, Drew Rasmussen, Jeffrey Springs, and Greg Jones. So we're really just saying goodbye, farewell, of it, saying goodnight to Calvin Fauché.
Calvin Fauché, unfortunately, or fortunately, if you're a Rays fan.
Right, both.
So we have that answered. And I mean, it sucks and it doesn't suck. Like, when those guys are healthy, you want them part of your team. But right now, it kind of hamstrings your 40-man roster after the World Series, because you know you can't use them for a certain period of time, or won't be able to use them for a certain period of time, but you got to keep them around. So
yeah. And okay, well, because of this, Kevin, at this edition of Greg Jones, we've kept 6 of the 7, which means that our 46 40-man roster, because there were 46 men in the 40-man roster, we've basically just shut it down from 46 to 45. So we're still 5 over. So let's switch this conversation to free agents.
Yes.
So regarding free agents, there are only 3 that we can talk about, which is Chris Davinsky, Jake Diekman, Robert Stevenson. Let's start with the obvious, the most high leverage pitcher in all of the playoffs for 2023, Mr. Chris Davinsky. I mean, do
I sense a tinge of sarcasm?
Just a tad. The guy that Kevin Cash and company said, you know who I want to give the ball to, 2-0 high leverage situation right now? It's not Pete Fairbanks. Yeah. It's not Robert Stevenson. It's not Sean Armstrong. It's not Kitty Cat, Andrew Kittredge. No. Chris Davinsky. Thank you for all your service, Chris Davinsky. À tout à l'heure, as the French would say. See you later.
Now, starting November 1st, for the 4th year in a row, Ibotta is giving 100% cash back on your Thanksgiving feast. Pretty neat, right? Just add the offers in the app to redeem for everything you need to make your Thanksgiving feast complete. All you have to do is shop at your favorite retailers and upload your receipt. Ibotta gives you cash back on hundreds of grocery items, from produce to personal care to pantry goods, so you can ensure you're beating inflation no matter what you're purchasing. Now, some other apps out there will give you points that don't really amount to much. Well, with Ibotta, you get real cash back that you can cash out to your bank account, PayPal, or gift cards. You can also earn cash back on hundreds, I said, of online brands and retailers too. When you start with Ibotta, including Lowe's, Macy's, Sephora, Best Buy, and more. Surely you've heard of those brands, right? Download the Ibotta app now and use code MLB to get 100% cash back on your Thanksgiving dinner starting November 1. Just go to the App Store or Google Play Store and download the free, 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 okay? Ibotta app and use code MLB. That's IBOTTA in the Google Play or App Store and use that code. I'll say it one more time. MLB. That stands for Major League Baseball. MLB. I don't disagree with that. And I think as a rule, I mean, the Rays are pretty fungible with their relief corps. So I don't know if there's anything that screams, hey, we have to do whatever we can to bring Chris Davinsky back.
Yeah. Cool changeup. Yeah. Nice pitch. But
you can always bring him back. He gets signed by another team. They DFA him, and then you reacquire him. You do the whole Cole Sulser runaround.
Hello, another name that we will talk about. So no on Chris Davinsky, free agent. Okay, what about Jake Diekman? How do you feel about Jake Diekman?
So I would like to bring back Jake Diekman, and it kind of brings it's maybe the same issue that you may have with Diekman and Stevenson, maybe more so with Stevenson, is they may have played so well in a Rays uniform that that the Rays they can't afford them, but they don't want to pay them what they're going to get on the open market.
Perfect.
And they can just say, we'll find Jake Diekman 2.0, Robert Stevenson 2.0 in 2024. We've done it a million times over.
We know how to do this.
Even though it took us till July or August to get the formula right.
Right.
As opposed to April or May, we can rotate them and shuffle them and do fine.
Yeah. Yeah. So
having said all that, I would like to see them keep, one of the three, one of the two between Jake Diekman and Robert Stevenson in a perfect world.
Yeah. Yeah. Same here. I would like to keep both of them, but I think that they outplayed what the Rays are willing to pay for them. And I like the way that you said that, Kev. You said they could pay for them. Yes. Which is 100% true, but they're just not willing to do that because of how you're going to allocate that money. You have a certain, amount of coins,
right? And
you can't be spending Brooks Raley money on a Diekman or a Stevenson. Yeah. It's just not okay. Because something that we have to already talk about to make that make sense a little bit. The Rays have under contract right now things that they will have to pay no matter what. They will have to pay Glasnow, Eflin, Margot, Brendan Lau, Yandy Diaz, Springs, Fairbanks, and Franco. Okay?
Until they maybe trade those guys.
Exactly.
And we're not even opening that can of worms.
Right.
This is purely an administrative exercise because we have to set a 40-man 5 days after the World Series in advance of the Rule 5 draft.
Exactly, Kevin. So when I look at that, those names that are under contract, if you add that all up, it's $74 million.
For those handful of guys?
For 8 players.
Holy cow. What would become the Phillies? Quickly. Are we the Mets all of a sudden?
I know.
Are we the Dodgers? Yankees? Who have we turned into?
So 8 players. Glasnow 25, Eflin 11, Margot 10, Lau 8.7, Yandy 8, Springs 5.2, Fairbanks 3.6, and then Wander 2.4. So
a lot of injury prone players, I should say.
Yeah. So that's 74 mil. So when Kevin says, and which I agree with, you don't want to put money on Diekman and Stevenson, it's because of that. Like you would be just tying your hands up for the rest of the offseason because you played cute with a reliever that you're really good at building bullpens.
Now, I will say this, maybe the Rays, look, they bring back a free agent or two with the intention, okay, we're going to eat this money for now, knowing that we are going to trade Tyler Glasnow and Manny Margot if and when the deal is right. And a little addendum to all that, I could see a scenario where Jake Diekman maybe takes a friendly recency bias discount of he's been in the league for a long time. I think he's got a family, kids. He's made his money. He's had a very nice career. Maybe he's just like, I don't want to move around to another city in another state. I don't want to have to uproot my family. I really enjoyed my time in Tampa Bay. I don't need a 1 year, $8 million contract or a 2 year, $11 million contract. If that market is even out there for him.
I agree. If there's one guy that they could keep between Stevenson and Diekman, it would be Diekman. Yeah. And from a lot of what Trisha tweeted and or X'd, I don't know how tweeted, whatever. She always, when she talked about the clubhouse, she always had a Diekman quote. And like Diekman did this and Diekman did that. And Diekman commented on like the dude
elder statesman. Klosky even did like a really nice, 5-minute interview Q&A with him on clubhouse culture and environment and playing with the Rays and what he hopes to impart to the younger guys. So there is definitely some.
I can see your part. I can see your point of view saying, hey, he might want to stay with the Rays maybe for a discount. I mean, not too much of a discount, depending on how the market is. I mean, look, if the dude gets Brooks Raley money from, I don't know, just grab a team from out of the hat, the Twins, the Mets, whatever you want, the Dodgers. Yeah, then he's gone. But if the market is kind of comparable, I wouldn't be surprised if he were to stay in Tampa. So same Pete. But I have to lean on history, and the history is Rays don't spend on bullpen guys, and if they do, it's not people that overperformed or perform really well with them. It's guys who they think are going to perform really well with them.
You mentioned one already, Brooks Raley,
Aaron Loop,
another those types of dudes.
Colin McHugh. The list is endless. Benoit, Soriano. So I'm saying I don't think we're going to see Diekman, and I don't think we're going to see Stevenson. So in my head, 3 out of 3 free agents gone.
That is fair. I'm with you on that sentiment. So as we close this episode, part 1 of our 40-man exercise, what is our quote-unquote 40-man roster at?
Okay, so the 40-man roster, if we only shaved off one guy from the 60-day IL from our 46-man roster, then we're down to 45. Now we're taking off 3 out of 3 free agents, so we're left with 42. We are 2 above board, Kevin.
That's good. All right. More to come on this. Stay tuned for Monday's episode where we will wrap up this exercise.